Hello, and welcome back to the podcast where you are invited for lighthearted conversations about things that matter as you seek to live your most meaningful, beautiful, and joyful life. I'm your host, Dr. Edie Wadsworth, and I hope you enjoy your stay here at the House of Joy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. We are sitting here today on a Monday afternoon.
Yes, we are.
And we are so excited. Today is episode 233.
What are we talking about today, Emily May?
We are talking about a topic that I feel like these are all the topics, but that I have personally been working through and becoming more aware of, and that is negative self-talk.
Yep.
And becoming aware to how mean you are to yourself on the daily.
This is going to be a good one.
I think, honestly, most people maybe subconsciously do this. They don't know it. So hopefully if you are and you don't know it, this episode will help you think about this more because it can really impact your day-to-day life.
Yes. And before we get into it, go ahead.
Yes. Before we get into it, I was just about to say that.
Oh, perfect.
We so appreciate when you guys leave reviews, whether it's on Spotify or Apple, and we so appreciate it. We just read through those all the time, and they're so
kind.
sweet.
The messages you leave us on the House of Joy Instagram. I am going to read a review today. I think it's from Amy, but it's so sweet. Let me see if Miss Edie can read it without her glasses. She says, "This is my new favorite station in the car. Literally love listening to Edie and Emmy. More than music even. So inspiring to hear and have them part of my morning routine. It helps my mind settle into a positive space for the day. Keep recording these doses of joy."
Oh, that's so sweet.
Aw, thank you so much. We are so grateful to be here, you guys. We are looking out. It has been the most glorious October day.
I keep forgetting that it's like the time of year that it's supposed to be this weather.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I'm like, wow, it's so gorgeous. There's a tree right outside the window that's turning.
Oh my, yes, our maple tree outside of our outdoor fireplace is literally gorgeous. We are leaving for New York City tomorrow.
I have something to say too, because I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but Mom doesn't make me, she doesn't force me, but when I'm in town, I go to CrossFit with her. I will say she does, push for it, but
she does.
I feel depleted after the workout today. I mean, it was a great one.
Yeah.
But it was the type of workout where any sudden movement, I'm so weak.
Were you watching how gingerly I was walking down the stairs today?
It hurts so bad. And
we did bear hug squats with these giant sandbags.
I wish you could have seen the grip that my hands had trying just to hold this sandbag. Because Mom obviously does CrossFit much more than I do. And when I'm there, she's like, "No, you can do it. Just let's do the same weight." And every time I'm so inwardly competitive with myself that I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'll do that." I am unwell. I am unprepared for that. But you know what? It does feel good. We also, if you're watching on YouTube, have our dog on the couch.
Please come over to YouTube, you guys, because number one, we have Bands on the couch.
Yes, I've been meaning to say this. If you do not watch these on YouTube, you are missing out on a whole other side of this podcast. Sometimes I'll listen to the podcast like a weirdo, but when you watch it, it's such a different, even podcasts I listen to, watching it, I'm like, wait, this adds a whole other level.
Yeah, so come over to the House of Joy YouTube channel, and also you will notice that my current blouse takes up half the width of the screen.
Yes. You will be mostly watching Mom's shirts, but I hope you enjoy.
But I haven't enjoyed it.
I hope you enjoyed this beautiful view of Mom's blouse.
It is something else. It is taking up the whole sofa.
Yeah, I really enjoy.
I'm enjoying it.
But anyway, I guess we shall get into it? Is there anything else? We used to start, I was thinking about this the other day, and we used to start out these podcasts with like a confession or a story of the week. And I think we need to start bringing that back. I don't have one right now, but I think it was a fun way to like keep it light.
Yeah,
at the beginning.
It was good. Tom did tell me. Does everyone know that Tom listens to the podcast? Hello, Tom. If you're listening to this podcast, we love you so much. He actually set our podcast equipment up today for us.
Yes, so graciously and such with a good attitude, as you can imagine. It was awesome.
But he did tell me yesterday that he's a regular listener. So I love that.
Well, I hope he's like really taking it in and really gaining some helpful. I mean, our target audience is not 12-year-old boys. But I always say anyone can take away something from the podcast. So
yeah, so we're headed to New York City. It's fall break. We're headed to New York City tomorrow with the fam to visit Eleanor, our little Ellie who lives in New York. She lives near Hell's Kitchen. We're going to be staying near there, near Central Park. We're really, really excited, but I may have booked us hour to hour. The girls were like, why
for some reason,
does she have so
made
many
this
things?
trip her personal, like project? I don't know. Every second, she's like, well, what if we did this Thursday at
11
I was like, you are booking every single hour we're there. We're not even going to be able to like breathe in between all of these things.
I'm trying to keep Tom occupied.
No, I get it.
Okay.
And I think we actually, in all seriousness, are doing a lot of fun stuff.
It'll be fun. Yeah. So that's what we're in for, but we are so excited to be here. Tell all of our friends in podcast land what made this topic so relevant for you. You just recently started coaching.
Carrie is in Moms. She's one of the LMS certified coaches, and Carrie Hunt.
And precious as
she's literally amazing. I guess some of the backstory is honestly, if you listen to the podcast regularly, you've probably seen a theme of like, I have been going through a lot this year in terms of emotional turmoil, whatever you want to call it. But with Haddon leaving, I just knew that I needed some sort of something every week, and I thought about going to therapy, but I just didn't feel like that was exactly what I needed, and I decided to start coaching every week, and I started like 2 weeks ago. So I've had 2 coaching sessions with Carrie, and
with you as the client.
Yes, I am the client.
Yes.
And I was super hesitant, first of all, for probably like 6 months. Even Haddon was like, why don't you just do something? I mean, like, clearly you want to talk about this with someone. And as we all know, I think it's sometimes hard to talk to the people in your actual life all the time because they always have more knowledge, and sometimes you want like a fresh perspective.
Yes, someone who's totally unbiased.
Unbiased.
Yep.
And doesn't even really know the people you're talking about that well. And so I've been super resistant to doing it for a long time, but I just knew, like, even if I didn't really want to in my heart, I just know that doing it will really help the next few months for me. And so I started, and I have already, it's so funny because this is typical, I think, but every time that we are about to start, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm even going to say. Like, everything's great. And then the first coaching session, literally within like 5 minutes, I was crying, and I was like, I don't know why I'm crying, to be honest. But actually, they've just been super light for the most part. The first one was like kind of hard, but like after that, I can tell each one.
It's kind of like I noticed this anytime I've gotten counseling or had a coach, is that that first one, you're kind of breaking the ice.
Yeah.
And you're like exposing your heart.
It felt like I was just like dumping just all of the things that I've like maybe not said. I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, in that first session, without getting like too much into detail, but she helped me really see the way that I was treating myself.
Yep.
just the way I talk to myself and the way I view myself and the way I like don't really respect myself. And it's funny because I wouldn't have really thought that was a issue I had. Like,
Yeah.
it was never something I was super conscious of or aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like I said, like dumping to her, and she gave me this really interesting analogy. I don't know. Is that what it's called? I don't know.
Yeah.
She basically told me, you know, each person has, I think she got this from somewhere else, or it's hers. I don't know. Credit where credit's due. But she told me, you know, each of us have all of these things that make up who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that's, you know, motivation, you know, you have segments of your personality.
Yeah.
And it's always different how you view yourself. So like I kind of view one of mine as lazy, and I was telling her that, like, so she told me to picture all those different versions of myself.
Yeah, or these parts of yourself.
Or these parts of myself.
Yeah.
That make up who I am.
Yeah.
They're all sitting at a table. And like they all have my face. They are all me.
Yeah.
But like specific parts of what make me who I am.
Yeah.
And she said, I want you to imagine yourself, if you think of the part of you that's lazy.
Yeah.
Or that you think of as lazy.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine you talking to yourself sitting there when you feel lazy. So for me, I'm like really hard on myself. I'm usually like, you need to do something. Why do you? And like really mean. And I've just never viewed it as mean because I viewed it as like necessary.
Yeah.
To like get myself
to motivate
to
myself.
do. Yes.
We think we have to be mean to ourselves to motivate ourselves.
Yes. And she was like, imagine the lazy version of you really feeling so hurt. Like, you're really mean. You're really mean to me all the time. I've never heard you say one like nice thing to me. But I'm also the version of you that if your friend needed you in a moment, you're willing to come at the snap of the finger because you're not too worried about what you have going on in a moment. And you're also the version of you that wants to cuddle up and snuggle and have a moment and take a break.
Yeah.
And
like really present.
Really present and
moment.
not over, you know, like thinking about what you need to be doing in that moment. And I don't know why seeing it in that way in my head really like
drove it home.
Yeah, I was never really aware that I was being that was being mean.
Yeah.
I just thought it was necessary, like I said.
Yeah.
And so it just has made me think a lot about how we speak to ourselves and how we treat ourselves, thinking that it's going to get us
to do what we want ourselves to do.
Yes.
Yeah, but you have to think about it from the standpoint of like, think of when someone has told you to do something in a very mean, negative way.
You're like
it's not very motivating.
It's not motivating at all, and it really doesn't. Like we teach, or you teach in your program, like your thoughts create your feelings, create your actions.
Yeah.
And being that negative to yourself is only going to make you feel
bad,
heavy and bad, and like you don't really want to do it, and so you don't.
You're going to, and then exactly, you're going to kind of, whatever your bias is in your brain, whatever that unconscious script is that you've been telling yourself for years, your brain will try to make you right. Mm-hmm. And so it will be like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. And it's not ever how you're going to get yourself to change in a lasting, sustainable way or get yourself motivated to do something that, you want to do. But I do think that this is so much more common than we think. And I bet for all of you out there, I bet if you really pay attention, you have some really negative, mean things that you say about yourself on a regular basis. Things that you say about your body, things that you say about your personality, things that you say about how you are with money, things that you say about your habits, things that you say about, all aspects of yourself. And one of the things that is true is that if you have that negative of a script toward yourself, you will also tend to be fairly negative toward other people.
I was just about to say that actually,
Yep.
because once I started realizing that I had these super high expectations of myself at all times. And the thing is with expectations is with anyone, like, more than likely you're not going to meet those exactly how you thought or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I was like becoming aware of the way I thought about myself, the more aware I was becoming of putting those same expectations or limitations on other people.
Yes.
That if I think this way about myself, then they need to be thinking this way about themselves.
Yes.
But they don't.
Right.
They probably do in other ways.
Yeah.
But it made me so aware of, like, this is not fair. Because almost putting it in someone else, like, you think about, oh, I'm doing that to them, it makes you more compassionate, which is sad that you can't have that same compassion just for yourself. But yeah, it's made me a lot more aware of what I'm doing towards other people.
Yes.
Who have no idea.
Yes.
And it feels so unfair.
Right.
But then I also was like, well, it's just as unfair
to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and once you become aware of it, I think you realize that it becomes a habit. It just becomes a rut that your brain gets in, and you're not even really conscious of it. You're not thinking that you're doing it, but if you create some awareness around it, then I think for a lot of us, you will see a lot of ways in which you do that. And again, one of the ways, if you're not really aware of how you do it to yourself, think of just being critical and judgmental just in general to other people about everything. It tends to be just a habit that your brain gets in toward everything, you included. And then you end up a lot of times, like I know with coaching clients around this, a lot of times, and experience that I've had with this too, is that you start to see it everywhere. You're like, oh my gosh, like I'm so much more negative than I would have thought.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of myself as a negative person, but then I find these critical things that, you know, that I have here and here and here and here. That's how it happened for me. And the more awareness that I bring around it, I'm like, oh, that's not how I want to show up.
That's not the energy I want to bring.
No.
Yeah.
It's toward myself, toward anybody else, just toward life in general. That's not what I want to create.
Yeah, it's so funny because about a week after, or even a little over a week, I had the second one. And I told her, I was like, it's crazy, but I've had so much better of a week because it is the positivity. It's like I was choosing instead to focus more on the parts that I was proud of that I was doing.
Yes.
And everything just felt more light. Like everything felt a little bit easier. These things that I have to do every day. And it's so interesting because like a couple months ago I was feeling so heavy, so tired, so not good. And it makes me think like it feels so simple now. Like, just
be a little negative pattern of thinking. Yeah.
Yes. But it's funny, just like what I noticed about that week of really practicing being more nice, more positive, more affirming to myself. Everything did feel so much easier. Like the tasks that I just want to do every day, easier. It's not like I had more time. It's not like I had more sleep. It's not like I had more whatever. It was the same situation.
Yep.
Doing the same work.
Yep.
And it felt so much lighter, so much easier.
Yep.
And one thing I've been trying to do at least once a week. It feels super uncomfortable for me to do. Like, I hate doing this. But I would just write down certain things. Or if I didn't write it down, I would try to think about it in a moment. Like, okay, I noticed this about myself, and I really love that I do that. Or I really love that I think that way.
Yeah, like it's like consciously trying to find the positive in yourself, in other people, in what's happening. Like I love this thought of just making the best of everything, of every situation, of every, just like all the little details, like noticing, because your brain is so good at noticing the negative.
Yes. And another thought that I realized that I had in that session was, I told you about this, but what I believed for myself was that all these negative things that I don't like about myself are the things about me that just come naturally. Like, all of these things are pretty much just set in stone. That's how I am.
You were thinking, like, this is just how I am.
This is how I am. And then the positive things are, like, me trying to combat those things.
Yep.
So, yeah, I have some positive qualities, but really I only have those because I'm trying to be that way.
And see how sneaky of a thought that is?
Yes.
That also is just a thought.
Yes. And
that you can choose to focus on or not.
Yes. And just that thought alone, like,
instead of
so
just practicing believing, right, instead of practicing believing, like, doing this good thing comes easy for me.
Yes. And also, like, imagine if I sat somebody down and told them that.
What you just said to them.
Like, that.
Like, all of your negative qualities are just natural. That's just who you are.
And you really have to work hard to be a good person.
Yeah, that's
like,
so
that's
sneakily
so
bad.
Rude.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize that I was assuming that about myself.
Yeah.
And it really made me, like, want to question these other things that I just don't, like, turn to. I just let them play in my head because I think they get me farther, or I think that they make me do more good things.
Yeah.
And, it's just been so interesting.
Like, you literally can't bully yourself into change. You can't hate yourself into change. You can't be mean to yourself, into doing the things that you want. But it takes a lot of practice to do it the other way, where you do it from love, for love. But it's so powerful to train yourself how to do that, because then you're also training yourself to show up to other people that way.
Yeah. Because I'm still, practicing this week to week and more trying to become more aware of it. If you had any, like, practical things that people can do to even just become aware of how you're...
Yeah, one of the things that I have done before is exactly what you're saying, but I would write them down. Like, if I had been through a period where I was super critical about myself, or if you go through a period where you're being really critical about your body, ask your brain to write down the opposite. What do I appreciate about myself? What do I appreciate about my body? Even if I'm in a state right now where things are different, or, so I think consciously writing down the other things. I ask my clients to do this all the time about other people. Like, somebody will be having trouble with their husband, and I will suggest, like, okay, well, what if you write down 25 things you love about this person? Because what happens when you get yourself on this negative focus toward other people, it's so easy for your brain to pile on, and he's this way, and he did this, and I hate when he does this, and and you just get in this really critical spirit. So, like, asking yourself to brainstorm everything you love about this person, 100 things, 25 things. Your brain, here's the crazy thing. Your brain will go, I don't know if I know 25 things.
No, yeah, that's immediately, I'm like,
Not going to happen. Don't know if I can think of 25 things. But you will, if you your brain won't want to do it. It will be like, no, that's too hard. I can't think of it. But then once you start down that path, the crazy thing is, because thoughts are so powerful and they do create emotions, at number 15 on that list, you're going to go, oh my gosh, I love this person.
This person is awesome. And I've started to notice that about myself, like these little things that I've really... And the thing is, I would have never said I really was a super insecure person. Like,
yeah,
I've never felt that way. But it's funny because when you really become aware of it, it's like clear. Okay, maybe it's not affecting my actual day-to-day things that I'm doing, and I still can do life, and I still have fun, joyous moments. It's not that. But I'm making this way harder for myself.
Yep.
And noticing these little things that, like, oh, I do love that about me.
Here's what's crazy. When you started talking to me about this, it didn't, like, I was like, oh, yeah. And then I remembered that I actually did this exercise for myself recently, because what I tend to do is minimize myself, like minimize what I do, try to pretend like what I do doesn't ever cause any stress. It's like I don't want it ever to affect anybody. So I just secretly, silently do a bunch of things. But then I'm like, don't give myself any credit for it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's the same kind of thing. It's not quite as like, it's not like I'm being actively mean to myself, but I'm
you're
also
letting
not
yourself,
acknowledging myself.
Yeah, you're not acknowledging yourself.
I'm not acknowledging that anything was hard or that anything.
Yes, I think that's a great point too, because I think what it taught me is that it doesn't have to look the same as I thought it would to be kind of negative towards myself.
Yeah.
It can look like that.
Yeah.
Where maybe it's not as strong, but you're still not giving yourself any credit.
Right.
And
you're still being a little hard on yourself, like, well, you should be able to do that without,
yes,
like I tend to be that way, kind of like a little secretly hard on myself.
Yes, in a way that like is not really,
mean,
but then that's
kind
still
of
not
it is.
acknowledging that you could be. Yes, they're all very sneaky.
Yeah.
And I just think, like, even with a week of working on it and really being aware of it and really, trying to do more things to acknowledge myself, acknowledge hard things that I do, I just felt so much better. And I know so many people just in my life that, like, maybe they don't call it that, but I think at the root of if you're feeling negative about anything, it really comes down to that, or some version of that, some version of like how you're treating yourself.
Yeah, because on the flip side, what we're often wanting, like in my instance, we're often wanting other people to say that good job, that's amazing, that
you are so motivated,
did that, you're so
like,
whatever, we're wanting other people to do it. But even if they did it, if we don't learn how to acknowledge ourselves, it won't mean the same thing. Yeah. And then we come to people with a weird, needy energy like, well, I need you to validate me or tell me whatever, instead of just like providing that acknowledgement to ourselves. It basically comes down to seeing yourself the way God does. He loves you. He cherishes you. You're his beloved. He's not up there going, well, you better.
Yeah, and he sees all of the bad things that you do, and it never even touches the love that he feels. And it has helped me too to think about people in my life, like how highly I think of them. And it's so crazy that we can't, it feels so wrong to do that for ourselves.
Yeah.
But I think, like, to really, truly love other people, to really, truly have the energy to pour into someone else, you have to take care of yourself first.
Yeah, you have to be kind enough.
It's so cliche.
Yeah.
But I think making yourself aware of all the times that you're so nasty. And
it's so exhausting, too. Like, just like you were saying, like, we don't realize how much it drains our energy to be in that mindset. It's very draining.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look at just the science of positive emotions have such a positive effect on us. They're good for our bodies. It helps us heal at a cellular level. Like earlier, what were we laughing so hard about, Em? I can't even remember, but whatever we were laughing about, I was laughing so hard. And I could literally feel like healing. There's something about just the release of that and the positive emotion of that and the laughter of that. And we keep ourselves tied up in such negative emotions so much of the time that we don't realize how much it drains our energy.
Yeah, it really just takes me back to like a couple months ago. Everything that you just explained, like the exhaustion, the stress, like just the heaviness
Yeah.
that I brought with me everywhere. Like, you don't experience the full, like, range of how much you can have joy and laughter and lightness.
Yeah.
And it does. Everything feels so much more serious when you are beating yourself up 24/7.
Yes.
And the reality is, like, none of us are perfect. None of us are going to do it all right. And so you might as well, like, give yourself a pat on the back. Lighten up.
Enjoy your life. Laugh more. Be aware of all the negative, self-talk and criticism and critical spirit of others, especially right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
find
the
some
perfect
reason
time
to laugh. Find some reason to enjoy your day. Enjoy yourself.
And I think, like, it doesn't just come naturally. And so if you're expecting it to just happen, yes, it can be so simple as, like, lightening your mood. But I think that practicing being aware and putting the positivity in your mind before you can even start being negative, then it does start to become, like, a more natural thing where you lean more positive instead of more negative.
Yes.
And so I'm challenging myself to really practice, being content, feeling light, feeling proud of myself, grateful, feeling God's love, like, pouring into his word to know that, so that I can really be light and pour into other people the best that I can. And I just think that we shouldn't just accept how we feel if it's exhausting us. Like,
try to get to the root of it. Like, oh man, why do I feel that way? Likely it's coming from some negative script, some negative mindset, some negative pattern of thinking, often about ourselves, and which translates into thinking that way about other people. And it is just not worth it. Life's too short.
Yeah. And it really can, like, ruin your experience of life if you let it. Like, it can really make it so much harder to just be a human. It's already hard. Okay. Life is already hard.
I just thought of something hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Speaking of lightening it up a little bit, Emmy and I went shopping last weekend. Did we go? Or 2 weeks ago? Anyways, there was a bag from that was left at my house, and I kind of totally forgot about it. And then I get was it in the car yesterday?
No, we were at...
Where were we?
We were
having lunch.
We were having lunch at the mall yesterday.
We were having lunch at the mall.
And I looked down, and on Mom's hand was a ring that I got from Gap when we were shopping. I got a pair of earrings, and I got a ring. And she just had that thing on her finger. And I was like, oh, I love that ring. Just, like, kind of joking because I knew that it was mine.
It was yours.
She was like, I know. I got this from Gap last week. And I was like, oh, did you? That's funny.
And then I was like, oh, wait.
She was like, actually,
did you get this ring?
She was like, when I pulled it out, I was like, wow, girl, I never would have thought you would pick this out. I was so proud of myself
for picking out this ring that I forgot I picked out, which I actually didn't pick out.
But, like, she did not stutter. She was like, thank you. I got it from Gap. When we went to Gap last week, I picked this out. She literally said she picked it out. I was like, I know that you didn't.
It was
and so then I was like, yeah, and the earrings I picked out, she was like, yes, I loved those too.
Again, literally, you guys, is this early dementia? I don't know, but
she
here's
literally
what happened.
Thought she
but here's
picked
what
them
happened.
out.
I looked at the ring and the earrings, and I thought, that is so odd. I mean, good on me. Both cute. But I really don't.
Like
I mean, it's not like me.
This
These
is like
gold
more
earrings.
Young of a vibe.
This is hip and young. Apparently, I didn't pick it out.
Well, the thing is, what's so funny is we were, like, about to check out, and I was just like, I just pulled it in really fast, and then we were at lunch, and she said, here, you can just have it back. and I put it on my fingers, and it didn't.
It was made for me, wasn't it?
It was made for her. So everything is meant to be. But I just thought it was so funny that she was like so confidently. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, I got this from Gap last week.
Okay, great.
So
there you go.
Man.
Okay,
yes.
well, I hope that encourages you, and I hope that you will figure out what your negative scripts have been that you've been telling yourself. Stop being mean to yourself. Create some awareness around it. Decide what you want to think about your life, about yourself, about the other people in your life, and then it can just create a much more pleasant and joyful
Yes, you're the one who gets to enjoy it.
You get to enjoy it.
Create it for yourself.
So good. Love that.
Yes, I love it. Okay, well, we've got to go to New York, really.
Yeah, we got to go pack, y'all.
Okay.
We'll let you know how it goes. Follow us on Instagram.
Yes.
At Edie
House of
Wadsworth,
Joy
at House of Joy.
podcast.
At House of Joy podcast. And we'll see you soon.
Yes, we'll see you next week.
Bye for now.
Bye.